The guru,
Yeah,
right?
the guru.
The guru who teaches you,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Is he not a gatekeeper?
yeah. Okay.
You have to labor, prove that you have labored, then show the audience, look, I have labored. And that's when the praise comes in. Wow, your labor has produced this sound.
Is labor the best word you'll use? You're a Windows guy. When you're downloading something,
yeah,
it doesn't show your progress bar.
it doesn't show you progress bar. I lived by the progress bar on Windows for years, right? In fact, the slower the better. Let's go get that chai.
You know the flute is 2000 years old, right?
Yeah.
That's even older.
Yeah.
Include.
I'll give you an insight into why that happens though.
Yeah.
For some people, me included,
Yeah.
that is very overwhelming. And that the possibility to do everything leads to nothing.
Nobody's asking the question. They feel like asking the question itself is challenging. Like, who are you to ask? Who are you? I mean, like Amir Khan said in the movie Rangila, public hai. To be very Indian in your normal life.
Yeah.
You'll have the chorak fry and you'll have the fish curry rice.
Yeah.
And then when you go back to work, you don't want to include the Indian sounds and you don't want to include the education of the Indian music history of music.
Yeah.
You just want to be German there. And then for night back, you go back and have a butter chicken.
No, I would love to answer this question.
Yes.
I would love to answer this question.
What a day. What a lovely day to have with us, Alan Rego.
Thank you for having me.
This guy doesn't paint. A trained percussionist, drummer. He's showing at the Serendipity Arts Festival. And I have a lot of questions. Because there are some practices in India which are classical. Like now oil painting is classical. You have certain watercolorists, you have performance artists. I don't know actually how to articulate a sensory experience because each artist always comes up with their own definition, so to say. At least it seems like to me.
Yeah.
You can call me old school. It's come to a point where I actually can't understand the artworks to some degree. I get a little confused. I'm a little phased by this, and I feel like as someone who runs Artistry Plus, people come to me and ask me, "Hey, can you explain this work to me?" This is our first conversation as people itself. So I'd like to my life. This is a real conversation. I'm just documenting it. Forget that there's any tech recording us.
Yeah.
It means nothing to me, honestly, at this moment. I just want to get to know you as an artist and hopefully as a friend. And I want to understand why you do what you do. And you've created something. Most of your works now, this work I saw recently of yours has it has algorithms. It has a semiconductor. It has motion. It's a sensory piece. We're in Goa. The lights go over here very often. So, don't you feel that you should have shifted to Japan or something?
Yeah, I sense that you've had some insider information and you know somehow that last night Serendipity lost power on the floor I'm on.
Yeah.
And
Say that again. Last night?
so last night and moving into this morning, I get a call from the electricity team at Serendipity saying that they had lost power completely, and so all of our computing devices had lost memory of their patches, of their softwares.
So you had to come
So
back.
I was planning to come back, but since I'm an hour away, I had to solve it over video call initially, and then I came here. So that's quite an astute observation that in Goa the power does go, and so choosing to work with sensors and tech is a risky proposition, and I have learned some lessons from it. But given the circumstances, I feel like sound-based work and interactive work is having its time in the limelight right now.
Is it?
It seems to be to me.
Because it's only 100 people from the super fine art space that your work reaches. It's a critic. I'm like, I'm telling you that works like this by the general public are perceived as I mean, it's confusing to them. So people have been coming to me and saying that uh, this is why the arts are dying. I mean, if we have him with us,
Yeah.
uh, I'm not accusing you. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
it's amazing. I feel like this started with, you know, uh, there were artists much before you.
Yeah.
Like, in the West, in India, like Rux Media has been doing sensory works, and there are multiple artists who've done a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think like in the West, it's been 50 years now. We have 50 since people try to express themselves with installations.
Yeah.
I get a chance to talk to an artist.
Yeah.
And that allows us a sneak peek into why you do what you do.
Yes.
So let's have a conversation about what's your relationship with money. No, because I can't imagine somebody. I hope somebody acquires your work, and the lights don't go there, and that they don't have to reset everything. But it's so complicated.
Yeah.
That when the younger audiences are listening to you or watching it,
Yeah.
can you kind of like explain to us also your journey, and also what are the challenges you're facing as an experimental artist or a sensory based artist? How do you define yourself?
I would say that I am attempting to make sound art, though that term is still up for debate these days. But I would say I'm attempting to make sound art. Having been a musician, I am moving towards that now.
You've been a musician from you're a drummer.
I'm a drummer. I'm a synthesizer player. I'm a producer.
Yeah.
And I find that the world of installed physical pieces and the way it's able to hold people's attention and the respect and the chance it gives people give it,
Yeah.
it inspires me to kind of focus on that rather than fight the algorithms in the online space to get people's attention.
That when you say I'm into sound art,
Yeah.
this is not a sound piece. What I saw, this is much beyond that.
Well, it's an attempt at a sound piece.
Yeah.
It's an attempt at a sound piece, and it's somehow grown into a multi-sensory piece as we're producing it.
When a curator comes up to you and says, "Can I see your work?"
Yeah.
This work has to be produced here.
Yes.
You cannot show them your
Yes.
work.
Yeah.
What do you show a curator, and how do you present your work, or how do you even start talking about your work before it exists?
Right. Yeah. So let me go back to your question a bit earlier about my relationship with money, because that's the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
And I used to work in advertising. I used to do creative direction and communication consulting
Where?
in advertising in Bombay. And past a point, I realized that I was inspired by the structure of advertising and how all the creative directors across the country were trying to cast a spell to sell products.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I liked the format, and I wanted to then use that knowledge I had gathered over the years to try and cast a spell to make meaning. And to make meaning would mean to just change the world in a way that suits my philosophy a little more. And so to push the general public's understanding slightly closer to the latest idea I had and see if there's some resonance there between me and them. So I am influenced by advertising to some extent. And what I mean by that is I like the idea of not being elitist and getting the most amount of people to have a relevant experience within your art piece, with your art piece, such that everyone's minds change even a little bit. And so that's why I'm here in Goa. I moved to Goa and I have had a difficult relationship with money ever since I moved here.
You just hit client servicing. You couldn't deal with that, no emails.
So now over here, there's no steady source of income, and you have to constantly maintain 2 or 3 parallel sound experiments, and then you pick one of them that moves to maturity, and then you perform it locally on some of the platforms we have here, like Noise, Reproduce Sessions, some of the more open-minded platforms that we have for sound in Goa. You keep performing it there, and you hope that a curator spots you, which is exactly what happened to me, and offers you a slot at an art festival and funds your production.
There's a fest. I mean, you're a guy who's come from advertising and a monthly salary. You've been an employee.
Yes.
It's a great idea. I want to probe this mind. You've been an employee.
Yeah.
Because that ice cream guy wants to sell ice cream. You've been an employee. Now you're not an employee.
Yes.
What are you? How do you define yourself? I mean, you're an artist.
Yeah.
But now you're attempting to be an artist. Are you an artist? Do you have self-doubt? I mean, because you're like, you're not in the music industry. You didn't say I'm in the music industry.
No.
You didn't say I'm an artist confidently enough to me.
Right.
You said I'm attempting to make art. I mean, half the things that sound engineers and producers used to do on complete systems
Yeah.
are now being done on the MacBook Pro. It can be done in the living room.
Yeah.
So if you had to say something to a younger musician,
Yes.
who's coming up like you, now you've got a spot. So like we've caught you at a time where hopefully we'll do 50 more interviews in your journey, and I hope you kill it. But along the way, at your stage, in the last 10 years of your life,
Yeah.
what advice would you give a younger sound designer or a sound engineer or you call him the sonic artist?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or something here. I mean, I would say that it's very daunting, the amount of media there is out there and the overstimulation that exists today.
Yeah.
It's very daunting. It makes you feel like the piece you make is not going to be heard, and so you don't see that cycle completing.
Yeah.
And so I would say that I struggled with that, and I'm guessing a lot of young creators struggle with that. But as much as this is that time in history where this is the most amount of crap out there,
Yeah.
the most amount of
You're
good
saying
stuff
that's-
out there
you're
also.
saying that's crap.
I'm saying that too much of anything is crap.
Sure.
Too much of art is also crap.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that, and because we are in this maximalist phase where the algorithms are just forcing us to make and produce for production's sake, and everyone just wants to release, right? It's crowded. The average human being cannot prioritize what he wants to see, and hence you will probably never get to someone's ears until you pay your way there and someone funds you and you strategize and all of that. And so all young artists are going to think, what's the point in doing this, right? What's the point in doing this?
Yeah.
And I would say that that is true, but also parallelly, there has never been a time in history where technology and freely available technology has democratized creativity
Yes.
and access to production.
Right.
So I would say those two things coming together have leveled the playing field yet again. Like,
You don't feel the quality of music has gone down because of it being so accessible. Because earlier only the professional, the specialist, the really sensitive person would engage in this activity out of the sheer love for it.
yeah,
But now there are quite a few people who are dabbling,
yeah,
and I'm trying to corner you there. There are quite a few people who are dabbling,
yes,
attempting
yes,
some things. They do stick in the world.
yes,
Kudos to you.
yeah,
But when somebody, like, I was with a flute player at the art park, and at the B-side event, one guy was an electronic artist. He held on to the E note for 1 hour. It was just boom, right? It was just that, and in the middle there was he was kicking. There was a few kicks. There was some bass licks. It was going on a beat, and he was completely shocked at this drone of this sound, and how is this art, and why is this given platform, and why is this who is engaging in these conversations? I play a few acoustic instruments, so for me, and I also listen to electronic. I consume electronic music a lot.
yeah,
Multiple ranges. So I kind of, in a way, but I don't have the words to articulate why is that beautiful. I walked out from that performance because that was a little extreme for me.
okay,
But I have been for a few events of yours at the last year when you guys were all had that room where somebody was sitting with a Moog machine, and they're creating, synthesizing sounds, analog sounds and all that. And we live in a time, as you said on Instagram, you're competing with like Arjit Singh and like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Sound is sound.
Yeah.
They say dhwani, like the structure of sound itself.
yeah.
What are you guys as sound as music producers, when you all come together as a clique and around sit together? What are you trying to get at?
That's a brilliant question, actually. But the way I look at, and I think a lot of my peers look at sound, is that sound is also a cultural object. What you're reacting to is also all the socio-cultural context that is there in a song that you like. And in many ways, a lot of what we're attempting to do is to create an alternate vocabulary that is more in the tradition of a new, modern, emerging style of speaking, rather than a classical style of speaking. So
You're basically creating your own language.
Yes, you're correct. You're creating a new
But
language.
there's no grammar.
There's no grammar. It's about researching what feeling is when you take away such socio-cultural context from it. So I think a lot about sound in the context we're talking about.
Like audio ethnography, or what is this? Like, be objective. Like, I understand you're basically the meaning of a tabla sound or a sitar sound takes you to India or
Exactly.
to Iran. Or
So much of cultural context in every sound.
yeah.
And that artists like me and my peers who are also chasing, it's not like there isn't little culture in there too, but when
Yeah,
we're
but
chasing when we're chasing abstract synthesis, we are kind of trying to create the modern art parallel to classical art. And
Why?
because that is,
Because the education is of classical arts is tough.
well, yeah, it is
Because you don't want to study basically.
it is well established, it's gate kept, it fetishizes the instruments.
Yes.
There's a lot of problems with classical art forms. I could talk for days about
Go
it.
for it. Go for it.
No, I'm just
No,
saying.
I'll tell you why. Because it's I think you're articulate enough to explain.
Yeah,
I'm happy if you rant.
I mean,
And not just for content, but basically saying that you're comfortable financially. So it's not like you create art out of desperation.
yeah, I think it's because I decided to live on less and I had a bit of savings from my advertising career that I decided to take this risk and try and be a communicator for non-commercial purposes, because I was already a communicator for commercial purposes.
Yeah.
And so I said, can this be used in parallel to also change people's minds?
That's a great idea.
That was the
You
hypothesis.
simplified yourself for the sake of your art.
Yeah, I tried to use what I knew in a new context. But obviously that new context doesn't pay as well, but that was okay for me. I was privileged enough to be able to take those years, those 2 or 3 years, to start these projects. And now one of them has reached maturity at this festival, and I hope more will reach maturity in the next few months.
Yeah.
And that's obviously that's a privilege to be able to sit around for a year and do and experiment with sound. But I feel like what this is creating with me and all of the artists who are doing this kind of stuff here is that it's creating that parallel abstract sound art movement, which is hopefully going to try and stand up and stand its own, just like abstract art in a visual sense has stood the test and has proven itself.
It's obviously working. I'm seeing a house full. I'm seeing like at least 2,000 people walk into your work every day, but that's because of the festival.
Yes.
Do you feel like also you were funded maybe for this to produce this work?
Yeah.
If this is not a sketchbook where you just whip out a sketchbook and you like create a watercolor.
Yeah.
You require 20 people. You require the government to supply electricity. You have to make sure that someone is sitting in Japan and Taiwan and making semiconductors for you. Like, specifically you've broken down, I don't know if you've deconstructed some microwave and put some sensor. Something you said there's the weighing scale you've broken down. Can you explain? Okay, I'm not doing this podcast for Siren, but there's a work which you've just done. Can you really break it down and explain the tools that you use and software you use so that people will actually kind of just let it sit on their ear to understand? He says he's broken down a weighing scale. He's taken the sensors of a weighing scale. You said you've taken some patches from some software. There's a trampoline. He's given the lights. Every time you move through these sensors, there's motion detection. Can you just break down this work? Just visually. I'm not going to show any visuals. I'm not showing any visuals. Hopefully, if he gives the visuals later, I'll try to show them to you. But just let's see if through words and through sound, he can explain the work to you visually.
Yeah. So
what was your intention?
Yeah. So my intention to myself has always been, whether it's this or whether it's with my writing or whether it's my more mainstream music, it's always to challenge the associations that we already have with meaning. What I've done over here is that I have made you question your relationship with your body and the sound it produces in the world. So you take a lot of things for granted. When you fall down, you assume there's going to be a thud, right? You brace for it, you prepare for it, you know what that impact means.
Yeah.
In my room, if you fall down, there isn't a thud. There's a whisper. But if you, when you make a micro movement with your muscles, when you stand on one leg and you balance perfectly, it makes a world of sounds. It makes a world of sounds because it's amplifying micro movements and it's subverting the oppression of uh, mainstream sound feedback that you get in the world. Okay, it's predictable sound feedback. So what I'm trying to do is that so I've got to achieve this. I've got a flexible floor. So we've got a floor that is basically made of various layers of mesh and foam.
Yes.
It's suspended from the corners of the room, and so when you walk on it, even though you are walking on a surface, the surface undulates and it makes you question your balance.
Yes.
It makes you question your gait. Makes you
focus on yourself.
You have to retune your body, recalibrate your body. You're in between the security. You're in between the security of walking on solid land and a free fall.
Yes.
You're in between somewhere.
Yes.
And and when that happens, you start to hear differently. And to allow you to hear differently, I've taken out any visuals from the room, and we've got a black box essentially, and we've got dim lighting just so that you can see the bare minimum required to navigate.
Yes.
And so you're guided towards the center of the room with a spotlight, right? And when you follow the spotlight to where you're supposed to stand roughly in the center of the room, you have made a journey from taking everything about your presence and your body movements for granted to being able to question how your muscles operate, how your mind processes, how your body moves, whether you're standing, whether you're sitting. So like I said about creating a new sound language, here I was trying to translate that into a new body language. And I've seen this for a lot of people that have experienced this exhibition. I have taken a few videos, maybe I can send that to you, of people behaving very differently than how you would imagine them behave in the real world, because they realize that the audio feedback and the tactile feedback has led them to be able to occupy new postures.
Yes.
And so that was my objective on a very broad level. It was to allow these occupation of new postures, new movements, and new a new awareness and understanding.
Yeah.
But to
very well said.
To in a way also question established relationships of sound and posture.
I have experienced both, so I'm going to put my head on and say congratulations.
Thank you.
At this stage, you have successfully made me. I've kind of like experienced this once.
Yeah.
Which was in my, you've kind of materialized this idea in the real world. So I want to come back to this your community of audio engineers.
Yes.
I'm completely baffled by it because it looks like you've created a mini gate, a mini silo now.
Yeah.
And now very few people are allowed to enter this. Only if you are really acoustically knowledgeable, or if you really know how the software works.
Yeah.
And if somebody else came from a classical background, I've seen them feel a little left out.
Yeah.
You guys have these Illuminati secret meetings to allow who makes the cut and who makes the cut. And also, how do you see yourself? Honestly, I've been to Germany and I've seen this happen when I was maybe 20.
Yeah.
Quite a few years back. People have been doing this kind of, and that phase over there has fizzled out or it's commercialized itself into people are actually making phenomenal money over there.
Yeah.
I don't see Indian artists doing what you guys are doing here and actually making a name for yourselves as musicians, as artists. I'm seeing these attempts remain as attempts. That hurts me to some degree. And I mean, I'm not like, I don't mean to belittle anybody, but I wish I wish there needs to be more expression.
Yes.
But I'm coming back to this point of like, if I know quite a few people who asked me, what are these sound artists on? Like, what are they tripping on?
So I am very much also a product of my community here. Like you brought up community, and I would say if I was in another city, maybe I would not have arrived at this art piece. I would go so far as to say that, because I feel like
if you were in Delhi.
I mean, it's not about the city. It's just having another set of influences on you.
Yeah.
I cannot deny the influences of the local other sound artists and musicians in Goa.
Name two.
That so
I'll give me an example. For example, like something in your life.
No, there's many, so I don't want to name just two. But basically, there's a huge community of like sound artists, musicians who are making non-mainstream music. Modular synth artists, synthesizer enthusiasts in Goa.
Yeah.
who basically have welcomed me in without testing me first. And I feel that radical inclusion has led me to be more an artist than I ever was.
Nice.
And so I feel that even though in some ways it is privileged, because if you can't afford to buy a synthesizer, it's obviously difficult. Though like I said before, technology has been democratized and there's an emulation for every kind of synthesizer out there available to be even pirated to your Windows system. So it is that golden era for this kind of stuff.
You're a Windows guy.
I have a we could have a whole separate podcast on this. I am still partial to the Windows platform, even though I operate on both.
I use Logic Pro and I have Text, one patch.
Yes.
It has like the world in it. I don't know why anyone would go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But
I'm partial to the Windows platform. I believe it's more, it treats you less like a fool, or treats you less like a child. On my iPad. In fact, I work exclusively on the iPad because I get overwhelmed by the MacBook Pro. I work exclusively on the iPad, and when I turn off the Wi-Fi on the iPad, it says turning off for a few hours, and it'll automatically turn it on again in a few hours. And I have to try and now figure out how to get it to do what I want it to do, which is to stay shut permanently. That is very strange. That's
You're very sensitive, Matt.
I mean, why do you want to turn yourself on without permission?
Because an iPad is a machine that means nothing if you're not connected to the internet.
So it has to report back to the mummy of Steve Jobs somewhere, like this. Like that's what I'm saying. It's a bit weird.
No, I get that. Actually, on the iPad, when you're downloading something, it doesn't show your progress bar.
It doesn't show your progress bar.
You don't know when the download is done. Where is it go?
I lived by the progress bar on Windows for years, right? You know, it's time to make a tea.
I'm the generation that looks at the progress bar and feels successful.
Exactly.
Like I feel like I'm going somewhere in life.
In fact, the slower the better. Let's go get that chai.
Sometimes when the progress bar says 4 days, I had a short giggle. Those jokes people don't get. Anyway, so you're saying, no, wait. So you're saying acoustic, the acoustic experience of music. Going back to music. Coming back to music. Space. Are you guys like romanticizing the analog, back to the future kind of analog flavor that your parents, like tape recorder, like the synth sound died with like Terminator, and before Terminator, the last properly used synth sound was used in Knight Rider. In the TV show Knight Rider. After that, 16-bit, 24-bit, 32-bit encryption started, and people started going straight into CD quality. So the last, I don't know why. Maybe Bapilleri and Knight Rider were the last properly used synths. And now for some reason you guys want to bring it back, and we live in such rich bitrate formats that to recreate that, it's like an Instagram. You know how Instagram started with its filters. I want to kind of look old. I want to look vintage. Is that something you'll like discuss, like, or the sound of?
That's a very good observation, because there is this romanticism of analog and vintage gear in this which overlaps with the same circles that do make sound art, but not exclusively so.
The flute is 2,000 years old, right? That's even older. Include.
No, so I'll give you an insight into why that happens, though. The reason that happens is with digital technology, and I'm speaking personally here. With digital technology, everything is possible, and hence, for some people, me included, that is very overwhelming. And that the possibility to do everything leads to nothing.
What is overwhelming?
The fact that when you open a digital audio workstation like Ableton or on a machine, you can do anything in the world, and hence I do nothing in the world. You know what I mean? Because the starting point is vague. The starting point of your creativity is vague. You need to have already had your idea, and the software will help you craft what you have already logically thought out. Whereas with analog gear, what happens is you turn it on and it starts to make a sound. Now, the starting point is given to you. Now you turn knobs and you make connections till you guide it to what you want it to become. So it's very much a curatory process of and embracing controlled randomness rather than a logical process of I want to make this song and we need this beat that is a cultural object and need to be there.
So explain this to me. Where is the artistry in the process?
Yeah.
If the analog, if the analog is giving you the starting point,
Yeah.
where is the artistry? I can't hear it sometimes. I'll be like when that guy is just hitting the E note.
Yeah.
The flute player was next to me.
Yeah.
He was like, "E pe milte hai."
Yeah.
Like he went to get a beer.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'll meet you at E." Like in Hindi they say हम लोग सा पे मिलते हैं और like मैं तुझे पच्चम में मिलता हूँ वैसे. He said E पे मिलते. I put on my Tanpura app to see the frequency.
Yeah.
Dead note E 440 hertz. On at A, and then I went to E, and then basically he's doing pentatonic scale.
Yeah.
Classic.
Yeah.
And I was wondering how long is it going to be there? I gave this guy 20 minutes of my life.
Yeah.
He went on for another 40 is what I heard because I left by then.
Yeah.
So then what is the kind of conversations that you guys when you guys are making music? I want to ask you, where is the artistry?
Yeah.
We all discuss this. Like
That's a very common. It's a very common critique I receive when I
nobody's
somehow
discussing it.
we're discussing.
Also new. No, nobody's discussing it. They're ashamed to. Nobody wants to ask the question.
Yeah.
Nobody's asking the question because somewhere they feel like asking the question itself is challenging the spirit of like, who are you to ask? Who are you? I mean, I'm a YouTuber, man.
Yeah.
Like Jackie Shroff, like Amir Khan said in the movie Rangila, un public hai. I'll ask questions, man.
Yeah.
You've said you want to democratize this place and allow people to ask the questions. So I feel like everybody is almost, I'm going to look straight in the camera and say, it's kind of wannabe. Because it's like, you all think like you guys have, I mean, not you guys.
Yeah.
It sounds like you guys want to be German in the head.
Yeah.
And then you'll go and have like a mulika paratha or like, for breakfast you'll have like a poha and you'll be very Indian in your normal life.
Yeah.
You'll have the chorak fry and you'll have the fish curry rice.
Yeah.
And then when you go back to work, you don't want to include the Indian sounds and you don't want to include the education of the Indian music, history of music.
Yeah.
You just want to be German there. And then for night back, you go back and have a butter chicken. So like I see an authenticity issue.
Yeah.
And I've had this conversation with classical musicians.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting a chance to have this conversation with interview करते हैं क्या पता था. So I basically you get my drift. I went on a mini rant.
No, I get what you say.
As I do, people will hate me on my channel again.
No, absolutely. These questions have to be asked. And
I'm not expecting an answer from you specifically.
No, I would love to answer this question.
Yes.
I would love to answer this question. Every movement, whether art movement or social movement, falls prey to being reduced to an identity.
Yeah.
And you can't escape that. It happens. But I don't feel that takes away from what it's setting out to do. And as far as you were talking about just playing one note and where's the talent in that?
Artistry.
Where's the artistry in that? So I feel like, if someone got on a stool here in a public space like this, right? Put up a stool and got on the stool and said, Inqilab Zindabad 10 times.
Yes.
Then got on the stool again and said it 10 more times. And said it till the evening.
Yeah.
What would your reaction to that be? Wouldn't, at some point, would you say, where is the artistry in that? Or would you feel that there was some experience very powerful that he was trying to communicate by saying that? I feel like playing one note for an hour is the equivalent of that. It's a rebellion against structures that have now got well worn, and it's a question. And we obviously are also in traditions of artists who have done this through for the last 50 years, but more with less, being finding meaning in the abstract, wanting to rid ourselves of the burden of cultural context, having a clean slate from which to draw new meaning. These are all some of the emotions that go into wanting to play one note for an hour and embrace randomness, embrace algorithmic music, embrace all of these things, because at the end of the day, if you are able to steer the software, steer the algorithm, steer the synth even 40% from from its stillness towards something that you curated, towards you like.
Yeah.
That I feel is still saying more than playing a format that has already been played 200 times before at 5:15 in the evening because the birds fly by, and at that point this is the feeling you get, and so we should play this rag at that time, right? I'm saying that is treasure. It exists.
Yeah.
But that vocabulary exists. We'll enjoy it again and again. Every new generation needs to hear that vocabulary. But this parallel vocabulary of saying that, what do you feel when this one note is played for half an hour? What is that restlessness within you? What is that dissonance when the phase starts to shift between the speakers? Can we dwell with that for a second, and can we have can you get up and say there is no artistry in this and walk away? That is also the reaction that is still more powerful than singing the same tune yet again.
I've always wondered how to judge this music. We live in a time where, like, I just interviewed Jayachandra Palladi. He's a movement. He's the director of artillery, and I asked him this question, like in the age of Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
and free dances on Instagram and so much entertainment. How do you and there's Dance India Dance and Uptown Funk and everyone dances with so much MTV music videos and all. People are consumed with dance. To have art gallery center and to basically do body movements and all.
Yeah.
Tough gig, man, to get people to get admissions and stuff like that. So like if for what your community is doing as artists, so do you feel like can this be institutionalized? Would you be okay if there was a school
Yes.
which taught this,
Yes.
and if there was grammar and there was like more performances like this? And do you really feel that this is scalable and that this is something, or are you still tripping on the fact that it's protest? Sorry.
No, I definitely think that it needs to develop and it needs to be made more accessible.
And what if it becomes commercial?
It will. It's not about what if, it's about when. It will become commercial. It's an endless cycle, like waves crashing against the shore.
Yeah.
Like here.
Yeah.
But I feel there's different phases of the wave plays different roles. Like no artist works in a vacuum, no producer, creator works in a vacuum. At some stage, a lot of art that we call a lot of music that we call inaccessible, niche, is artists. It's art for sometimes it's art for artists, sometimes it's art for as a protest, sometimes it's art as social change. I'm saying it has an influence. Sometimes it has an influence directly on your on the intended end audience. Sometimes it has an influence on the intermediary. Sometimes it has an influence on other less niche creators who then synthesize that idea and make it more mainstream.
Yeah.
So, like for example, I don't think anything I have ever played on the drum set is particularly original. I mean, I might have made variations on it, right? But it comes from a tradition of people sitting on drum sets, right? And from my years being filled with patterns from drum sets over the years. So it's all derivative. So which means that when I search,
That's because you didn't attempt to go original.
I did.
And what happened?
I did, and I failed.
You're
No,
okay
but
with failure? What's your relationship with failure? Like success and failure and money and failure and money and success. And I mean, you've been selling washing powder your whole life. Like in the IDC, you've been selling FMCG. What was your main gig? What client were you handling? Can you say the name?
I mean, I've handled many clients over the years.
Yeah.
Many clients over the years. I would say,
I'm also ex-advertising.
yeah, that's brilliant.
Okay.
Yeah. So we are very pragmatic
Contract.
people. We are very practical people.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, the brief comes,
Yeah.
execute.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's why I asked you the employee question.
Yeah.
I asked you the employee question because very few, I interview only artists.
Yeah.
I've never been in an office in my life.
Yeah.
Like I've never been anybody's employee.
Yes.
And the people I interview usually have not.
Who?
You're one of those rare guys who's come from the commercial space here.
Yeah.
And maybe you came with a little saying that can I cut it into this, and you made it.
Yeah.
They opened the gate and it doesn't seem like you're trying to shut the gate behind you.
Yeah.
You're saying access, dude, come, this place is beautiful.
Exactly.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's become so beautiful now that there are people who are trying to emulate what you're doing.
Yeah.
There are quite a few people here.
Yeah.
And Virangana, a senior curator like Virangana, is giving platform to experimental art. So I think she's onto something. With you. It's like let me ask you this, because visual artists and painters are feeling this nowadays because of the times we live in, where curatorial practices are becoming creative practices, and patrons are also believing that they are creative practitioners and producers. So art is reduced to labor, basically.
Yeah.
This is a conversation that not come from my mind.
Yeah.
It's a conversation people are having, the way art is photographed and publicized now.
Yeah.
It just seems like artists have become labor.
Yeah.
And that the actual person who wants to say something is the festival, or the curator actually wants to say something, and the artist is just the medium push these ideas out. So if I asked you as an artist, what is your voice, what is your identity, what do you want to say?
Yeah.
Do you have any in your about the artist or artist statement? How would you wait, there's an ant. Okay. What do you write in your artist statement?
So I do think I have an approach, rather than I wouldn't say I have a fully developed voice yet.
And how old are you, sorry?
I'm 37.
Oh, not bad, yeah. Okay.
I wouldn't say I have a fully developed voice yet, and maybe I don't want to have it yet at this stage, because I'm not fully sure about all the paths I will walk down yet.
You'll have to
But
choose the language also then. And you basically don't want to conform.
I don't want to commit to one line of reasoning only.
Your whole concept is non-compliance. you're like I've been in compliance before. My second part of my life is gonna be non-compliance. Okay.
Yeah, some extent, yeah. But
and you simplified your life to live this life now.
yes, I have.
You say you simplify your life. You actually made real amends in your, like, you become a minimalist.
I have tried to learn to live differently from how I was living before. In order to accommodate this lifestyle. This lifestyle is a very lonely lifestyle, the lifestyle of an artist.
Yeah.
You're locked at home in a space where you're repeating the same actions and experiments for weeks on end, months on end, years on end sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes some of those experiments don't even lead to something, to what you thought they would.
Yeah.
So it's difficult. The validation comes very differently, slowly from how it used to come in advertising. But talking about a parallel to advertising again, I've never faced as much rejection as I did, because in advertising the ideas are created so quickly, and in a room and they're created so quickly. Like, you come up with 8 ideas a day, and 8 times a day you're told that it's rubbish. So you have a very different relationship with failure and being told that you're not good enough, coming from advertising. So you grow a thick skin, and you learn how to kind of iterate. And also another thing that I borrow from the advertising world is radical collaboration, right? In advertising,
radical collaboration.
Yeah, radical collaboration, right? The passing on of ownership to anyone who is willing to take it, right? That's how advertising works. Like, somebody said you've got to make an ad. You're like, okay, this is my idea. They're like, oh, I have this version of the idea. Here you go. I will see you tomorrow.
Manifest it.
Yeah, do your thing. I will see you tomorrow. Yeah. And you're happy to be able to go home at 6 p.m. one evening instead of at 6 a.m. the next morning.
Yeah.
That.
I know that. Yeah.
that what is otherwise seen as a con. Yeah. That level of non-commitment to that product, because at the end of the day you're selling washing powder, right? Yeah. And you've borrowed a cultural context. You've monetized your own culture, and
you've seen some Indonesian reference somewhere.
You have synthesized as much as you can for the least effort.
ऐसे lions में जीता था उसने कान ला.
Exactly.
So we can.
Exactly, but what that teaches you, that kind of like non-committing, that belief that almost you are doing anti-art. This is not art, so why kill yourself over it? Right?
That's so true.
That approach that you have when you're in advertising,
because my name is never going to be there.
Exactly. Yeah. And at the end of the day, what, you're going to make people switch from washing powder A to washing powder B? The world's not going to change for it.
And it's not worth having a fight with the people, your colleagues in office.
Exactly.
It's like you have an idea, it's loose.
Exactly.
But doesn't that
it's a loose idea that radically collaborates with everyone who is willing to take the ball forward.
Yeah.
Right? And so that approach, when you bring to the art world, also helps to some extent. Over here, you do know that there is meaning in what you're doing, and you're trying to sculpt meaning in it. Yeah. But I feel maybe the art world suffers from the opposite problem, where one person wants to control the entire process and wants to sculpt it to their own likeness and image to a fault, you know. And I feel like I would like to borrow that radical
they
collaboration.
want to burn out in that journey. They don't
Yeah.
want to fade away. They want to burn out. It's like Kurt Cobain. It's like, they're not interested in, like, they're like, it's like a fight or flight. It's like, I'll dedicate my life to this. I don't care. I don't want life insurance, no health. I don't want a wife. I don't want a life. I don't want kids.
Yeah.
I want superstardom.
Exactly. I mean, artists forget to have lunch regularly. You know, they're so on that one track to perfection. But a single narrative on anything is never a good idea.
Yeah.
There's a counterpoint to that also, but radical direction shifting is not good either. But I'm saying that midpoint is a happy balance I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And working with technology means that you always have to collaborate with people who know more about the technology than you do.
Yeah.
And hence you're always in that space where you have to embrace somebody else's rethinking of your idea, somebody else's critique of your idea, somebody else bringing to your awareness the limitations of the technology.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice chat, man. It's like what do your advertising guys think about you now? That they're like, look, this guy's crossed the court. He's gone on the other side. He's like, he's living it, man. Like, you must be the cool cutlet from the advertising agency who went and did your thing, and like, even your self-image must be like that, right? You must have been like, dude, I actually took lunch. I'm brave. It gives you validation. Does that happen? Am I wrong?
In my head, yes. In my head, I do think that.
As opposed to in my stomach, I eat lesser.
But I haven't really kept all of my peers from advertising in the loop about what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I feel that will happen eventually, and maybe I will
only creative
bask in its glory then.
Yeah.
But as of now, no, I don't think too many of my old collaborators know what I'm up to.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I am, eventually I hope that the art becomes known enough for it to be known.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to me that the heavy lifting of the talent, the sound itself, is generated by the machine.
Yeah.
In your case, as opposed to a guitarist, or a flute player.
Yeah.
Because if you hit an acoustic instrument in any other way, it's not going to make a sound.
Sure.
It has to be the guitar has to be fingered and strummed.
Yeah.
The flute has to be fingered. The piano has to be keyed.
Yes.
Some of the things that you guys in the sonic space are working on is you are pushing buttons. It will make a sound. There's a basic understanding of what the scales are and the frequencies are, and that this is an A, B, C, D, E, F, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, sharps and minors, some scales, pentatonic scales, Lydian scales. You have a few, Mixolydian. You have a few chord patterns, 1, 3, 5 sets, and you basically play within those patterns. So it feels like the artist has become labor, and that even the curator seems to know this, even the viewer seems to know this. And which is why people start saying, I can do this. It's the same thing that happens in the visual art space. When you over abstract something, when you make the same conversation, man. It's like, my child could do this.
Yeah.
Anyone can do this.
Yeah.
I don't see the artistry. When I ask you these questions, I ask you these questions from, okay, I'm asking you personally also, but I'm asking this from the perspective of whether do you see this? How do you think other people perceive you? It's a great prompt to start with.
So, the classical musician, as we have seen in so many of the in pop cinema, like Flash and The Disciple, 6 years. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Oh, it's brilliant films because they paint a nice picture of the power structures at play within that learning environment.
I'm asking you an artistic question.
Yeah.
You're going, okay, continue.
Okay. I'll answer it more simply.
No. Go for it.
I'm just using that because I feel like those are things are a good.
Politics of the institution of all of how this mounted around.
Yeah.
Then everyone's right.
Okay.
I'm asking you.
I'm saying the guru.
Yeah.
Right.
The guru
who teaches you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is he not a gatekeeper?
Yeah. Okay.
You know.
Okay.
And through, and is he not asking you to be worthy of the instrument by justifying your labor? You have to labor, prove that you have labored, then show the audience, look, I have labored. And that's when the praise comes in. Wow, your labor has produced this sound.
Is labor the best word you'll use?
I would purposely use that word labor because I feel that when we have this feeling that traditional instruments are more music than modern abstract instruments,
Okay.
we are basically elevating the labor, the visible labor behind the process and the institutions and the power structures that are involved with learning from a gharana and those kind of things.
And acoustic music requires a human being
It requires a human being to labor,
to make it alive, to bring it to life.
to bring it to life, to labor to bring it to life.
Of course, you have to. There has to be human intervention.
Now, for example, if the guys,
I'm not taking, what's the word for it? Not offense,
yeah,
but it's,
objection,
I'm taking an objection.
Yeah.
To your choice of the word labor, man. Why labor?
because you hear this thing very often that says, like, what do DJs do? They press a button,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
What is the objection there? What is subliminally, what are people objecting to? That was no effort.
Yes.
So, which means that the music you value, there is visible effort.
Okay. Yes. Point taken.
And what I'm saying is, the visible effort has evolved over the years, and it's not as visible as it was before.
The effort is gone in the machine.
The effort has gone in different formats,
Yes.
right? Like the DJ not only is working hard on the transitions between songs, but he's also curating the tracks to bring to press that button,
Yes.
right? He can't press a button on any track. He has to press a button on the right track at the right time, in the right environment, at the right time of the evening, for the right people, for it to feel right.
Yes.
Then he has to press that same one button on the next track to feel right after that. All of that is a process of labor that's not visible at the point of performance. It's preparation,
Yes.
which has gone into that.
And it's an understanding of the context in which.
It's a deep understanding of the social cultural context and the expectations of the audience from him
Yes.
to keep the vibe going.
Yes.
So I'm saying that new forms of labor need to be recognized. New forms of labor need to be recognized.
I got this point. Okay. Okay. I'm listening.
Yeah.
Continue.
So-
Continue this train of thought.
Yeah. So it's and that recognition will only come, like when you said, should there be an institute? Should there be a local thing?
Should it be institutionalized?
I feel it should be. I feel all of these niche and new emerging forms of music and expression should be institutionalized. It should be, because that's
What if
when
tomorrow who's that Island Boys? No,
Yeah.
Not Island Boys. What are those guys? There's this famous meme on the internet now where the mute guy is singing.
What?
Right? Have you seen him? I'm going to dark territory now.
Yeah, no, go there.
If you don't want to be party to this.
No, please go there.
Yeah, it's basically this mute guy.
Yeah.
I think he's an African guy. So he's just making sounds.
Okay,
Like he's not using words.
got it. Yes.
And he's making these sounds. And
Yes.
it's like, and people have subtitled it. And
Yes.
people are putting their own meaning. And
Yeah.
now let's say an entire community of, let's say 50 more like these artists come up.
Yeah.
And it's all music.
Yeah.
And you're listening to just sounds
Yeah.
of mute people saying something,
Yes.
attempting to say something. Or
Yes.
how would you react to that? It's not for you.
I would say
not for me.
I would say the decision of whether it is or is not for me will happen in the microseconds. My body and brain will decide it in the microseconds within which the music starts to hit my ear. I do not know now.
Yeah, I don't know now. You'll make that decision later.
Yeah, because you are otherwise intellectually gatekeeping yourself from this
Barabar.
experience. So I
Great
feel
learning, man. That's a great learning, man. Yeah.
I feel a lot of people today who do get a lot of electronic music, who do get that a mute person expressing could make them feel something. I feel at the end of the day, everybody at the art festivals we're attending,
Yeah.
all the artists are trying to make people feel something for an objective.
Yeah.
And if it resonates with you, then you consider it art, or you consider it music, or you consider it literature.
For
If it doesn't resonate with you, it's not meant for you, right?
Right.
So I feel that whatever music it is, whatever form it is in,
Yeah.
the world is becoming more and more stratified. There are more and more smaller and smaller niches within which there's an in-group that now is laughing at the joke, in an even smaller quantity of people are laughing at that joke, and I feel that's a natural progression of human culture. It's like it's being
Subsets and
subsets. I mean, I feel this is now a larger point that I've thought about. I feel that eventually your nationality will be your search history, right? All of the things you've ever searched for, all of the songs you ever listened to, culturally come together and say, you're a citizen of this country. Because all your cultural references,
Yeah, that's a great thought.
all your cultural references are aligned to other people who have had the same search history, same movie listening, watching experiences, same cultural experiences, same maybe education, maybe same languages exposure.
Yeah, algorithm is your nationality.
Exactly.
That's
So these micro nationalities are going to emerge now, cultural micro nationalities.
yeah, there'll be new currencies actually. What you like, if you have enough data to say, yeah, actually, then you all connect based on that denominator.
Yeah, I mean, it's an identity.
It's your denominator. Yeah.
It's a glue that holds you all together, and you understand the same jokes, you understand the same thing, and eventually you'll be willing to fight for your identity. And then you'll make a flag, and then you'll make a small territory, because you've forgotten that this was all about abstracting, and you'll go back into trying to be.
This idea came in your mind. You heard it first here, okay? No, you should write, man. This has a 1984 ring to it.
Yeah, I'm saying.
I mean, you're onto something. Eh? You're. I'm trying to think whether I've heard Naval Ravikant say this, or have I heard this somewhere on a Joe Rogan podcast?
Yeah.
No, but it's pretty cool, man. It actually makes sense. It's the glue that binds you together.
Exactly, and I think the more noise there is. I mean, I'm using noise in a term just in the more multiplicity of identities there are, the more we as human beings feel the need to craft our own specific identity, which is when we make our insider music, we make our insider clothing, insider jokes. We make all of these things and we protect it. We don't want everyone to have the same experience, because otherwise we do not know who we are. And knowing who you are is such an important psychological construct to being able to live confidently in the world and not have this imposter syndrome.
It's a great thought, man. No, because I'm wondering, because actually in the visual art space, everybody is trying to obtain originality, but the gallery system, for example, does not maybe allow originality to flourish through its potential, because the buyer wants to buy something known. They want to buy a known unknown. They don't want to buy an unknown.
Interesting. Yeah.
And so when one is confronted with raw originality, they don't know how to perceive it.
Yes.
So the perception is the problem, because it doesn't align and fit in the slot of their human emotion or their feelings.
Yeah. In fact, what you just said should be the role of the gallery and the curator, to be the translator.
Yes.
From raw talent to socio-cultural context.
Bang on.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. That's not the world we live in.
Yeah.
It's like when I was in school, I remember hearing this Gujarati rapper called Devang Patel.
Yeah.
And I was like, who gave this guy a platform?
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I'm wondering, like, who in which boardroom meeting did Baba Saigal say that this guy represents India's pop culture?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, but like Thanda Thanda Pani, I was like, I don't think like that. But then they kept hammering it on radio, and then suddenly it became like something, man. It's like, it becomes something when the gallerist says, push it, take it give it its full potential. It becomes something, he might be, I don't want to judge anybody, but it's pretty iconic that happened in India. It's sad that, we didn't have like better quality talent come up. We had like very like, I find the quality, and why I'm saying this is because I feel like when experiments are given main stages.
Yeah.
It's like, I just connected my train of thought. When experiments are given main stages, there's a major responsibility with the producer of that kind of, because what happens is that someone would have just come and heard it and gone.
Yes.
And they thought that is mainstream now.
Yeah.
But it's not mainstream. They don't even realize it.
Yeah.
I had some.
And they go home and kill themselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're like, shit, I'm not political enough. I'm not political enough. I'm not nuanced enough.
This is what the kids are listening to. These
Yeah, it happened to me as a
Yeah.
40-year-old. I'm like, this is like it actually challenges me, right?
Yeah.
As a viewer, just as a viewer.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, you feel disconnected from your culture, yeah, when you hear something like that.
because my denominator is not the same. Like I went to see paintings,
Yeah.
and it took me out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And you challenged me.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I'm doing this podcast is because as I said in the start, is that you challenged me, and you actually helped me a lot in this conversation.
Yeah.
Get some clarity about at least how you take. I mean, these are things that we would speak over dinner,
Yeah.
or in at a Diwali party, or like when you go to a friend's house and all.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do podcasts to kind of like. That's why I chose open setting. I don't want it to be like studio.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't care about the tech and all. I just want to make sure that I actually, you feel like you spoke to the best of your ability, or you feel like you want to touch upon a subject that I haven't yet asked you.
I feel we covered a lot of interesting subjects. I feel like
You want to say anything? Childhood traumas or some fears or something.
I mean a lot of artists are drawing on on their psychological journeys to mine insight. I
Yeah,
mean,
one question. Don't you feel all this sensory art and audioscapes a little too dark? Like, why is there no happy people? Like, what's this? Why is no one laughing, man?
yeah.
Like, everybody comes like, like goth, like, like wearing black, and like they've got like this, the opposite of Gujarati Garba, It's like, it's very like, I'm not going to live very sadistic vibe.
Yeah.
Everybody's wearing like,
Yeah. No, you might be onto something. Maybe there's a like when a
I'm not onto something. I feel
no, you might be onto something because like yeah, there is this tendency
we're
for
looking each other now.
there's this tendency for sound art to be broody, drony,
Yes.
and it's something I've observed too and try to steer clear
The
of.
most
though-
colorful guy I saw. We're wearing dark blue.
No, but I'm saying in sonically also it is a vocabulary
Yeah.
that becomes becomes a stereotype in itself. And I feel that that's just a sign of maybe the genre not maturing enough yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're all trying.
Yeah.
We're all trying, and when you initially discover the new vocabulary, you try to be deep,
Yeah.
and so you're dark and deep initially, so that people take you seriously.
Yeah. Why is that?
So that people take you seriously.
Why is dark and deep associated with seriousness?
I don't know. Maybe sorrow is an emotion that people resonate with more easily than happiness. So it feels like happiness was less well earned, and hence should be taken less seriously.
Got nice thoughts, man. You've thought about this, man. In the one that after your advertising career.
No, because I really
Why am
feel
sorry?
I really feel I really feel in my fifth sound art piece I will be more
Grand.
like no I will be more
What is this?
I will be more less constrained to the darker frequencies. I will be more
Yeah.
I do feel that literally happen.
Yeah.
I will shy away less from more maximalist, ostentatious expressions of melody,
Yeah.
which I am instinctively maybe in my vocabulary stunted with right now.
Yeah. I don't see a sense of humor. I don't see happiness. I don't see positivity. I don't see any other concepts coming out from the sonic space. Everybody is just like, listen to the frequency of my sadness.
Yes.
Listen, my rent is overdue.
Oh, we should call that our collection the frequencies of sadness. Yeah.
Yeah, like all the frequencies are like, the like Putin has announced world war. The vibe is so drony, broody. You're right.
That's very interesting. Yeah.
It doesn't have children.
It's a call to take us.
We are having a child. Let's celebrate. Diwali is coming up.
Yeah.
I love my grandparents. None of these nuances. Let's make the world a better place. No heal the world happening. It's just like it's kind of like emotional attachar kind of vibe, but German edition. I'm just.
Oh no, you are onto something like this.
I came to ask you a question about what you are on to.
Yeah. No, but I'm getting a lot from you also, and I feel like that vocabulary that is something that will evolve with time, and is I'm sure there are exceptions to that even all around us.
Yeah.
Um,
But they just don't make it in the festivals. Like people actually in the festivals when they come up to your piece, They open the curtain, they look in, they're like, oh fuck, and they walk out.
Yeah.
There are happy people in the world. You know that, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've come in from a great.
No, you're right. I should have also considered I did a black box.
Yeah.
Because that was my first interpretation of sensory deprivation.
Yeah.
But a complete white room.
Yeah.
With flat lighting.
Yeah.
With flat lighting, white everything would also have achieved the same objective I was trying to
It
achieve.
looks like an Amazon shopping cart. No shadow. It's just white.
Yeah.
White
Just
background.
white.
You're like in the Matrix.
So that you're not taking too much information in. That's all I wanted, and I could have gone with a white room with white light and that. But I went with darkness. I guess that's food for thought.
I had a great chat. Please, your website or something that you want to talk shop, go for it. And
No.
just end the conversation by saying like, comment, and subscribe to Art History Plus.
Yeah, I'm really happy that I got this chance to talk on Art History Plus today. And you guys should like and subscribe so the channel can grow and we can hear more conversations
That's what he said.
from from other artists that he plans to meet. And yeah, do what's the full handle at Artistic Plus?
Artistic Plus.
Okay, and
I'm asking about you. If you
yeah,
want your website and your coordinates.
yeah, my handle is Alanophone, ALANOPHONE, and which I've not documented my work well yet, but I intend to in the coming years. Yeah.
Yeah, I know someone who does this professionally.
Yeah.
If you want to,
Yeah.
I still inform.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. I've had a great conversation with Alan, and I hope you had as much fun